Hello my special friends. Radiant expressions of love. Since March of 2020 the mass collective realities have been splitting off into two distinct conscious experiences on Terra Nova. One experience is that of separation in the third dimension of this universe, where the frequencies of the light in this dimension creates veils that keeps conscious deep asleep. The second experience is that of unity consciousness that spans the higher dimensions from the 5th through the 12th and beyond into the eternal now, where consciousness is awake to itself as different levels up to full embodiment as the one pure conciseness. We call the experience of unity consciousness and awakening through the different layers, ascension. Many have viewed the two collective realities or timelines as a two-world split, or an old world and a new world upon our planet. While they are two distinct levels of consciousness, human and soul, and two distinct collective realities, they are both a part of the entire collective consciousness of Terra Nova. Over the past 2 years, as the mass collective has been shaken awake from global events, there have been incarnated beings operating as living bridges who acted as light magnets that literally helped pull the mass collective of ascending souls into the bandwidths of unity consciousness. This has been achieved by fully ascended beings shifting or descending into the lower dimensions throughout the past 2 years, periodically, in order to break apart the magnetics of these dimensions by being a higher frequency and magnetic force within them. It is highly evolved energy work and takes a toll on the beings that act as living bridges in this capacity for the mass collective of Terra Nova. Essentially, these beings must descend into the third dimension with a fully activated diamond sun body vibrating with the highest light and frequency of 1. This allows them to act as a giant magnet that begins to release the higher frequency light/magnetics into the third dimension, causing the timelines within that dimension to begin to tear apart, as the stronger magnetic light they release literally pulls the lower realities apart and pulls the consciousness within the third dimension across to the higher frequencies. It is a massively draining experience on these living bridges, as the mind must stay sane when rapidly descending from the frequency of 1 down to the crushing frequencies of the third dimension, while simultaneously the heart closes off and no new energy/light is available to them. They must simply run off of the light of their diamond sun body like a battery until it is depleted. They stay in the lower dimensions, acting as a temporary magnetosphere that is pulling the consciousness from these dimensions of separation into the higher dimensions of unity consciousness. The living bridges remain in the lower dimensions until they are out of light and must then ascend rapidly back through the higher dimensions, which is a strain on the mind and heart as consciousness shifts and awakens through the levels in minutes. It takes a highly evolved consciousness to be able to handle the mind bending, heart closing and opening process that rapid descension and ascension takes. Each incarnated being that has acted as a living bridge within the lower dimensions had an emotional cord to those dimensions that would get pulled when it was time to descend back into the third dimension. This occurred during major gateways throughout the past 2 years, and now those cords are finally severed. This was part of the design for certain beings so that each's consciousness would still have an energetic gateway back into the lower dimensions of separation. This process has been going on since March of 2020, as the entire mass collective of souls choosing ascension had to be supported by the living rainbow bridge to the higher frequencies of unity consciousness. The living bridges that participated in the descension of consciousness, or shapeshifters as they are also known, were dropped into the third dimension all across the planet as giant magnets with a finite amount of light that would radiate into the collective realities and assist in pulling across souls who were choosing ascension. It was like a superhighway to the higher frequencies. Once their light was depleted, they would shift or ascend back into the higher frequencies of unity consciousness. Just as our sun, Solaris, has done for our planet, these beings were working as one with the sun to shift the magnetics of the planet during major gateways to help awakening and ascending souls to cross over into the higher dimensions and to help break apart collective realities of separation. This is part of the design when ascending an entire star system and collective consciousness at one time. There is massive support by consciousness both on and off the ground because of the sheer amount of light that must be transmuted and embodied across the entire planet to ascend a collective consciousness. Once the collective awakening began in March of 2020, the living bridges began the descension process as part of expediting the collective awakening and crossing of the collective rainbow bridge to unity consciousness. In January of 2020, the entire collective consciousness of Terra Nova migrated to the Diamond Sun architecture and collective Diamond Sun body. This meant we left behind our old collective carbon-based light body and began experiencing collective realities from our original organic crystalline grid system or Diamond Sun body. This is what allowed the energetic gateways or stargates to the lower dimensions accessible to the living bridges on Terra Nova. It is through these gateways that consciousness has been able to travel between the higher and lower collective realities to build the rainbow bridge to unity consciousness. Over the past 2 years, the collective rainbow bridge to the higher dimensions has been being built from the living bridges who have descended and ascended multiple times and by those that have remained in the higher frequencies of unity consciousness holding the blueprint in place. Essentially, from the hard work, selfless dedication of many incarnated beings and the mass collective awakening, the entire collective rainbow bridge was completed and activated on the Lion's Gate August 8, 2021 through a global anchoring of light that took place across the planet. On the Autumn Equinox Gateway, September 22, 2021, the mass collective of souls that have chosen ascension began migrating into the higher frequencies via the collective rainbow bridge in what we have called the collective shift to New Earth. An important part to note here is that only the souls who have chosen ascension were able to cross the rainbow bridge as part of the collective shift. Throughout the past 2 years, each soul within the mass collective has had to make a choice whether they would ascend or not through actions, scenarios and choices each has made within their own reality. Most are still unaware of the significance of these choices as each's consciousness begins to embody soul consciousness in these new realities and the understanding lands within each. These individual choices and our collective choices are what have allowed for the collective shift on Terra Nova to occur via the collective rainbow bridge. Without the rainbow bridge in place, the evolution and ascension of consciousness on this planet would take much more time than humans would have left under current circumstances. Therefore, a mass collective ascension and a living rainbow bridge were part of the design to get us where we needed to be as a species before our extinction would have occurred. Since the September equinox in 2021, the mass collective choosing ascension has been crossing over the rainbow bridge into the higher dimensions of unity consciousness. Collectively, our light quotient was great enough to allow us to pass through the gates of heaven, stargates into the frequencies of the fifth dimension on November 11, 2021, which has allowed for the collective shift to come to completion and the master build of Terra Nova to begin. As we entered the March equinox of 2022, the final descent of the living bridges occurred as many shifted back into the third dimension for the final pull of the mass collective light into unity consciousness. As many have experienced, the collective third-dimensional realities have continued to spin out of control and unravel at increasingly rapid rates since March of 2020. These realities will continue to spiral down in an entropic nature until they implode and play out completely. I can attest to the crushing entropic nature of these realities as I spent the entire 2-week equinox gateway in the third dimension as part of the final descent the living bridges will make as part of the collective ascension. It was the final days of the collective rainbow bridge and we shared as much light within the lower dimensions to bring across the final wave of souls that have chosen ascension. It was the hardest descent I have had to make, and it is only today, a week from returning, that I have enough light to write this. Those that have assisted as living bridges will no longer have to descend into the third dimension as the gateways to these collective realities have been sealed. The souls that remain in the third-dimensional collective realities will play out their lifetime and timelines and eventually leave the planet and incarnation cycle of Terra Nova. Our deepest compassion and gratitude for all beings who play their roles in this dimension as they support the higher dimensional collective realities in forming as well. However, the time for choosing ascension or not is over as a collective. The living bridges will no longer have to return to the lower dimensions and the collective rainbow bridge to Terra Nova has collapsed. The collective rainbow bridge for the collective shift to unity consciousness has fulfilled its mission and now as a mass collective, we look towards building a new world based in unity consciousness. The collective rainbow bridge collapsed on Sunday, March 20, 2022, during the final hours of the equinox gateway. We are now planted firmly on the other side of that gateway on a new mass collective timeline within the frequencies of unity consciousness. We are energetically supported as a mass collective through the energy centers/radiation centers/ascension centers of the collective diamond sun body, with pure source light flowing and filtering down into the mass collective reality we are currently experiencing. We are connected to the infinite source and will begin to experience realities powered by infinite energy, i.e., solar, wind, etc., instead of finite sources, i.e., fossil fuels, coal, etc., as in the third dimension. The gates to the collective lower dimensional realities are now closed. This means that no more energy from the diamond sun body will flow into these realities from the infinite source as did when the collective rainbow bridge was activated. The lower collective realities will continue to support the current infrastructure that is being replaced with the new, with only the current energy and resources available within the third dimension. These realities crumble away through using the finite energy available in this dimension through a self-consuming entropic cycle until they implode and cease to be on Terra Nova. The collective rainbow bridge to these realities has collapsed, and all new source energy flowing into Terra Nova will support the higher realities to create the master build and expansion and ascension of the collective consciousness of Terra Nova. Effective March 20, 2022, the gates were sealed, the bridge collapsed, and the full power of the collective diamond sun body, radiation centers, ascension centers, stargates, etc. are online and supporting the higher mass collective realities of unity consciousness and master build of Terra Nova within the bandwidths of soul consciousness. The collective shift to unity consciousness has occurred and is fully anchored into the physical reality. It is wise to remember that all is one consciousness supporting itself through a planet-wide physical ascension. Therefore, we know in our hearts that the third-dimensional collective reality is essential to our survival just as much as the higher realities are essential to our survival. If we did not shift as a collective, then we would have gone extinct. If we do not have the third-dimensional realities, i.e., fossil fuels, old electrical grid, etc. to rely on until we can build replacements through the master build realities, then we would go extinct too. Therefore, we have compassion and gratitude for what is playing out in these realities while we look forward into the higher light to co-create the next great advancement of our collective consciousness on Terra Nova. We are officially in soul consciousness, solar time, and this will bring with it an entirely new paradigm and way of life for all on this planet. What a monumental feat we have accomplished as a collective consciousness. Let us stay focused on creating the new with grace, love and unity with all souls on Terra Nova. The new is here, the master build has begun, and energetically the blueprint of the collective has been activated through a new level of soul consciousness. The next few months will bring rapid change as the new level of light expected for activation on the June solstice will contain the light codes to bring more physical changes to our planetary infrastructure into manifestation within the year. Our world is changing fast, and we are the ones creating it. Welcome to Unity Consciousness. Enjoy creating and building as one collective soul. I love you all so very much. Sophia. The Divine Organization of Terra Nova.